sure nobody put their money on him, and if they did, they would be lying, because he hasn't been performing out of this world. I think he's been a quiet underdog for quite a while, and the way he plays always lends him with a chance. So he's just stabilized, found new confidence, and I wouldn't even count him out of this series either.
And here we have the picks and bans. The Blood Covenant, Awoken, Corrupted, Keep, Molten, and Ruins if we need to go to a fifth and final map. Looking at the champions here, who has thoughts on this?
First of all, cnz has a tall order in front of him, facing the end boss right off the bat. Not only that, but also the end boss's Athena on Blood Covenant. Rapha, extremely good on that champion, on that map. If we look a little bit deeper, if we start getting towards the end of the map pool, we got Scale Bear coming out from Rapha on Molten versus Aizen. I'm interested to see that. And also Keel on Ruins. I love that champ, but on Ruins, it could be a little bit harder. We're going to have to see a lot of traps from Rapha, a lot of kind of cheeky plays, especially going against a Visor. cnz could keep that distance, chip away as he wants, use that vision through the wall to make sure that he doesn't get trapped and avoid those nades.
Yeah, for me, cnz definitely needs to take one or two of the first maps to be standing a chance in this, as I feel that the picks certainly go against him in the latter stages of this. We saw yesterday Corrupted Keep, he picked Anarchy against Garpy, or maybe it was 2 days ago. Jesus, it's gone quickly, and he just got absolutely steamrolled. He didn't seem like he knew the strategy or how to play that champion, and it does seem to be ever more favor in the favor of Rapha as the series develops. So if he's going to stand a chance to overcome Rapha, he needs to take early maps.
Yeah, I'm going to echo what ZSX said straight away, because Molten Falls and Ruins isn't the best for Rapha. It's probably one of his more weaker maps, and I kept saying to people, if you're playing against cnz, ban Molten. It's there in the map pool again. It's map number 4. So if he takes the first one, then he can take the 4th and the 5th one. Depends on the circumstances of how cnz is actually playing. But I don't actually know what player style is going to bring. I've seen him play very aggressively, and even then I've seen him play very smart and passive against people like Base, so we'll have to see.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, it is time. It is game 1 here of Championship Sunday for the Quake World Championships. It's time now to throw it to our casters, catch up and flee.
I think it's safe to say that we are starting today off with a bang. Rapha and cnz up here on the Blood Covenant. Excited for the matchup because it's going to be... We get to see Rapha's Athena, and that's always a treat on this map because of just how good she is.
cnz definitely has an extremely tall order in front of him, going up against one of the greatest of all time on the map and a champion that he is so well known for. This is definitely straight up Rapha's comfort zone. cnz already struggling a bit at the start. The damage definitely favoring Rapha, also delaying the item a bit. Could favor the American player if he continues having the upper hand in this engagement. cnz right below, beautiful rocket from above. cnz still hanging around though. Rapha's gonna catch him. This is so bad for the Estonian, already dropping a frag. Barely 40 seconds into the map. Catch up, this is not a good start.
Absolutely not. The first phase, forcing out the Ghost Walk, and Nyx, the Ghost Walk can be an amazing tool, but if you're not really able to get started and you consistently caught with the Ghost Walk to try and survive, you're not really able to maximize just how useful it can be. And that is going to be Rapha's plan. Force it out in situations where cnz really doesn't want to have to use it, and then he's a sitting duck really. That light champion with low stack becomes very easy to deal with if you're in Rapha's shoes.
I think Rapha definitely got the upper hand when it comes to the champion and the map picks leading into this series. The only thing I feel like cnz has got going for him is perhaps a bit of an element of surprise. Rapha has been around the block a long time, has played all of these players dozens of times, but cnz, as we've been discussing, is a bit of a dark horse, someone who made his way in through the Challengers League. So Rapha likely doesn't have as much experience playing and understanding this particular opponent, and that might actually come and help him in this relatively slow-paced Blood Covenant. Rapha setting up a very nice item rotation. 20 seconds between the items. The stack is all in his favor, and cnz now looking to land some of those classy rails. That's probably going to be the key to his comeback. The chip damage.
And what's always a bit worrying against Rapha is that he's seen it all. It's rare that you will catch him off guard in cnz. cnz doesn't tend to have much of an element of surprise. He is methodical, he plays by the book, and that allows him to be so disciplined that he can go an entire map one frag down. And all he needs to do is get that one frag, you know, no matter how late it comes. We saw that exact style of him versus Base yesterday, and it's how he squeezed in some maps in the last minute. But doing that against Rapha, You know, one of the absolute most scientific players in the scene. It's going to be pretty tricky to do that. Now another fight's going to break out. Rapha's confident in his stack, and he's going to completely chase this down. Little victories, I guess cnz was able to get that light, but who cares? There's a heavy here, so all things considered, that was a really bad time to go down, and Nyx spawning with pretty much nothing to work with for another time allows Rapha to continue this presence that he has on the map.
Already seeing two problems with cnz's Ghost Walk. First, he's holding on to it far too long. Both times he popped the ability, he waited until after he already took over 100 points of damage. And by that point, getting away, even if you do manage to successfully avoid your opponent, you are left so weak. I really think he should be popping that ability earlier to avoid the opening incoming damage when he finds himself in a bad situation. And secondly, his actual escaping has been extremely predictable. Rapha read him like an open book both times in a row, and that allowed him to get these two frags back to back. cnz struggling to find an opening into this map.
Now, this might be somewhat of an opening. I feel like Rapha using those bullets to stay safer, but that is a big deal because the Mega was taken. There's not a lot of resources for Rapha to recharge. Thankfully, because of Athena's movement, look at how fast he is able to go from point A to point B, pick up some of those lights on the way, and now he's pretty damn healthy. Putting himself in position, that nice little combo, but he's eating these rails. cnz does miss what would have been a pretty significant shot here, chases it down. The good call out from Rapha, having the LG ready. Now, can he get another good read? Where's cnz gonna go? He gets it again! The light armor, the forbidden fruit. Rapha, I know where you're gonna go. You want this? Take it, I dare you.
Once again, waiting too long with using the ability and then going for a relatively predictable route of escape. As you mentioned yourself, cnz, he plays by the book. Not the kind of player to really throw out any fancy, unpredictable strategies, and you need to do that against the powerhouse that is Rapha. Now cnz, he is landing some pretty decent rails, and that will be the go-to strategy this map around. He needs to apply that damage. He had a very good showing earlier, a minute and a half ago, when he almost brought down Rapha, and that is how he needs to approach these engagements. He cannot take on the mobility fight. He cannot just straight up hope to out-aim Rapha. He needs to land the long-distance railgun damage and then just slip on through, secure an item, and hopefully convert it into a frag.
We've been checking things out from Rapha's point of view this entire map, as he's the one that's leading the charge, but just look at how much he's been on these items, how long he's spent on the high ground. cnz's been playing from behind for so long. And now, as the damage continues to pile up, cnz, he's got a couple of good rail sequences, but not able to finish it. Rapha, forever just playing slippery when the time comes. And here comes the push. Things like this is why Athena is almost unmatched in her mobility on this map, because of just, I want to go this way right now, doesn't matter where it is, how high up it might be. Just so hard to predict.
And it's stopping cnz from being able to play the desired game. What you typically want to do is land one rail, maybe two, and then get positioning, right? You cut off your opponent's route towards the next major item, and that's what cnz tried to do. He dealt damage and was first to Mega. Usually you'd say, really good play, cnz is going to take this item. Not against Athena. Rapha just grapples hook right on up there and steals away the item while doing a tremendous amount of damage. And once again, cnz is gonna drop down Rapha with the super shot. He takes a fair bit of damage off his own, but still nowhere near dying, still feeling confident and comfortable with the stack and the positioning that he has. cnz, why are you here? Shouldn't have been around at all. Rapha, his stack far too great for cnz to challenge head on like that. I feel like this is a bit of desperation, Ketchup.
We will be now. We have just over 3 minutes left on the clock, and he has to get 6 frags just to equalize. That's assuming that Rapha won't get any more, which at this rate is likely to be another. And for another time, cnz using his Ghost Walk to delay the inevitable. He hasn't really been able to make Nyx work the way we often do, and a big part of this does come down to this mobility that Rapha, he's always in a great position to push, to hit a rail, or just to put cnz in these terrible positions. And now, for another time, he's weak. And it just looks like... I think this is likely to be all 10 minutes at this rate, Flea. I don't really think there's anything cnz is going to be able to do here that throws Rapha off this flow. And this is rapha we're talking about. When he digs his heels in and he's cemented a lead, and he's got full control over the items. He knows exactly where you're going to be for certain weapons. As we've said, cnz's retreats have been quite predictable. This is rapha in his absolute element, and most players cannot throw him off this.
Absolutely not. cnz, did he just burn a Ghost Walk? He did. He's even gonna go aggressive. This is not the right time to do it. Came pretty close, but of course, as we just went over, time is running out. He cannot wait for the perfect opportunity. Sometimes you have to make do with good enough. And unfortunately for him, rapha, the diesel engine, it's warmed up right now. Good try, Bolt. Oh,
disgusting. Perfect.
Yeah, he shouldn't be there, and he knows that too. But on the other hand, what else are you gonna do? If you don't start stringing together these frags in the next 20 seconds or so, it's over and done already. And rapha knows this, so he's just gonna play his own game. One item to the other. Nothing more that needs to be done.
Well, all we really have to do now is just discuss the next set of maps, as Awoken is going to be the next destination.
Yeah.
And it does naturally bring itself just a different change of pace. It's not going to be as long range as perhaps this map has been, but I mean, rapha, I know a lot of people have been talking about rapha having to be on top form this weekend because of the competition, and how a lot of other players here, if he's not on a perfect game, will have potential to really bring it to him. Off the back of this map where he's played pretty much perfect, and cnz has had such a hard time figuring out what do I do here.
rapha indeed, playing that flawless game we know him for. Every single position, every engagement calculated. This man is reading his opponent like an open book, leaving him no room to even breathe. It is just exquisite to watch how rapha both simultaneously controls every single item on the map, while still just damaging cnz the way he has. He isn't just playing the item sketchup, he is applying a tremendous amount of pressure while he's doing it.
cnz just hasn't been allowed to exist on this map, and it's almost fitting that in these final moments he once again has to use the Ghost Walk to survive. He's not even allowed one bonus frag as rapha commandingly takes that first map. And that's the rapha that we know. If he's able to keep up matches like that, then I think he has a damn good chance of winning the whole thing.
Yeah, absolutely. He just played his own game and cnz wasn't able to catch up. There were a lot of things that I saw going wrong that matchup. I already discussed some of them. The Ghost Walk, he waited too long using it every single time. You have to start popping it before you take the damage. If you're at 150 points of health and that rocket is flying towards your face, you cannot take the damage first and then go for the Ghost Walk, because you'll have nothing left. Even if you do manage to get away, you need to be more proactive using it. And secondly, of course, cnz a bit of a predictable player when it comes to these escape. rapha, the professor, known for downloading his opponents, reading their every move and catching them out time and time again. You need to do something a bit more inventive and creative if you want to avoid this damage. And meanwhile, rapha just kept a consistent and tremendous amount of full control and didn't let cnz play his game 1 second.
So that was Blood Covenant. I think I blinked and missed it, to be honest with you. But now Awoken is the next destination, a map that rapha, again, is pretty solid on, I think it's fair to say. But in the clash of styles, they are very similar in the sense that they're very methodical, both of these players. rapha, absolutely a scientist of the game. I think that's why he's the professor, right? Because he's so good at not only being able to break down the game to the finest detail, but his opponents, his players, his preparation, the homework that he does is almost completely unmatched. Name the game mode, and rapha has been just so ridiculously on point with it. And, like, I mean, Duel, this is his home. This is where he was born and bred. And that display, I mean, he was even one of the first players that we really saw start to use Athena a bit more regularly, especially on Blood Covenant.
Yeah.
I don't think he was the first, but during that early phase of players like Chain and rapha starting to use Athena a bit more, we've started to see that level of success to the point where now she is incredibly meta on that map. One of the best you can pick.
Sure thing. Also, just a bit of a general comment, because I'm seeing a lot of people in chat wondering about this. In the bottom right corner of the screen, it will show what server these players are playing on. So whoever wins the coin flip has a first shot at picking the server if they so choose, and then it just alternates every other game. So the previous map was actually played on the EU server, if I'm not mistaken, so that makes Rapha's win all that more impressive.
It's the nature of these online broadcasts due to the worldwide situation. You know, things are being done online, understandably, and players absolutely making the most of the situation and playing their absolute hearts out, Flea, as we now jump into Awoken.
Awoken, looks like we are about to start things off on Rapha's perspective. We've got a Ranger going up against a Galena. Pretty typical meta picks on these maps. Rapha immediately catching cnz off guard. LG thundering down from above. Mega is actually still up. cnz unable to actually get onto it. This is already looking so dire for the Estonian. What was that start? Rapha just
rocket. That's what that start was.
Yeah. But Rapha just immediately rushed his opponent. Didn't even go for the Mega. Grabbed that rocket, positioned himself, listened out, and heard his opponent go up the bounce pad, springing the trap instantly. Extremely solid start again. If you're playing one of the Liquid boys, whether it's Rapha or the Hang, you want that opening lead at any time. And cnz, second map in a row, failing to do so. Now Rapha falling dangerously low, 20 points of health. cnz, though, unable to capitalize off of the advantage that he got. Going to be regretting that one, I think. Yeah, has got the better position, but gets bounced around.
The misses are coming out from Rapha. The beginning of what could be the end of this next frag. That really good rail shot. I mean, like, breaking down how things started there, going in with the jump pad, he had massive stack, he had the orb. Things went a little bit south for him there, wasn't quite able to squeeze out the damage, definitely got pushed into a bad position and tried to make the most of it. And then the rail accuracy just wasn't there. Looking for some big shots, and cnz's going to punish 2-1. And for the first time in the series, he has been able to take the lead. Let's see if he can keep it up.
Good start from cnz this time around. After dropping that initial frag, he has been quite suppressive. Rapha actually getting red here, but a shotgun with the orb is going to clean up his opponent. 2-2 right now. Mega is the next item to spawn. Rapha, of course, perfectly aware of this. cnz, though, dangerous, risky push. Rockets into rails for days. cnz still hanging on, clutching for dear life. Good defensive tribal, though, and Rapha actually has to be a little careful engaging right now.
Really good decision from cnz, actually, to just stay up top. I think jumping down, it was the more attractive option when you're that weak and you think, I've got to get out of here. And it is what caused cnz trouble in the last map, where his retreating paths are a bit too predictable. I like the fact that he's being a little bit more tricky to read in these situations, but Rapha has been able to get control off this. That's one of the victories he's been able to obtain, is that he's got both of these items, and that's a surprise! Dire Orb through the teleporter, where you going? Get back here. That was a cheeky play from the American.
And that is one of the reasons why Ranger is such a powerful pick on this map. He is literally the only champion in the pool who could make his way through the teleporter like that, and it looks like cnz might not have fully considered that opportunity. And now Rapha building momentum. cnz is trying to avoid him desperately. Can he even get out of this situation? Goes for the pummel. Can't quite land it.
I mean, considering he'd just spawned, that was the only chance he had of getting large damage output.
Yep.
And I mean, really to echo what you've just talked about, how Ranger's the only champion in the game that can get those kind of encounters. It is what makes this level of duel so impressive, is the fact that these players, there's so much data you have to absorb at any given moment. The champions and their potential is just one extra layer to that. The amount of like preparation that you need to have, always impressive, but at this level of play, it's ridiculous. As we go into a Mega that's about to spawn here, Rapha keeping his control. The rails, I mean, there are a couple of rails that aren't hitting their mark. That is giving cnz this breathing room to fight back for a split second. It means he's going to be healthy enough to maybe make his presence known here on Heavy, but understandably, this is cnz, a safe player who will play it safe near the Heavy and not challenge. The defensive rockets don't hit their mark, but they create the distance. Rapha can't chase just yet. Misses the rail too, which means that as we now move towards Mega, both players are quite healthy. But the Dire Orb's been used from Rapha as well, so he's not going to have that extra burst.
cnz has once allowed once again, Rodder been put in a situation where Rapha can just play his own game exactly the way he wants to. Rapha is cycling the items, but in such a disciplined and measured way that he continuously still applies pressure. He is still putting out that damage, even while running every single one of these major items. Now cnz though, not up against an Athena, so might have a bit more of an opportunity to get and sneak away one of them. Mega will be going his way. DLG has to be sublime. Dodges the rail, gets out of the room alive. Rapha in a really good side of the map to get stacked up against cnz. Pretty much all of his tokens taken away. Tokens. That is going to be difficult because he wants to get 3 of them up at the same time so he can get that overstack going. But Rapha, such an aware player. One of the best situational awareness of anyone in the league. So he's going to be constantly on the lookout for these totems.
And as we've hit the halfway point on this map, another fight's going to break out. The damage is outmatched for another time. Didn't even really need the Dire Orb there, but this is Rapha. If there's a chance it will help, he'll spend it. Manage those cooldowns and we should be able to move on. He's going to have to concede this heavy, but he's got a 4 frag lead. He's already staying a little bit hard to catch here. cnz just, for another time, he is continuing to play this very methodical game, not overextending too much, trying to play as safe as possible. The danger is that now Rapha's getting perfect callouts on his movement, and he's just keeping him on the edge of a string, really, because in all of these situations, Rapha is the one that's in position. cnz is the one that's forever going around the corner, and he's taking that initial damage, right? He's not the one that's able to push these situations. He's not in charge of things. But it is going to be Rapha who jumps down. Another orb. The slip gate is correct. Another frag does go to Rapha. Things are looking so dire here for cnz. I'm not even sure at this stage what he's able to do to put that spanner in the works. Rapha is just outclassing him right now.
The problem for cnz's playstyle to work is that he needs to do the damage. He needs to dish out the pain and actually make Rapha really work for any of these advantages, but he isn't. Most of his rails, again and again and again, they aren't connecting. And Rapha, on the other hand, he is. And that is giving him such a leg up. Of course, Rapha, a tremendous, methodical, strategic player, but he's got the aim to back it up and match it just the same. And cnz is falling short, not just on the strategic game, on the positioning, on the items, but also just when it comes to the aiming. Rapha always coming out on top on these engagements, and as we just saw, whenever cnz does manage to secure a major item, whether it's heavy, whether it's mega, Rapha is there to punish it. If cnz drops, picks up heavy, he is going to be in pain. He should be able to secure it though. He's trying to bait out the shot so that if he takes damage, it happens before he picks up the heavy, and then he can still try and leave without taking anything more. Going up the bounce pad, so risky. LG on LG, Rapha. Nice little orb trying to divide the tension, but actually cnz standing his ground, holding his own, landing a good rail to finish up Rapha. Catch up, we might have a game on our hands still.
He's going to have to show respect because Rapha spawned in his super shotgun and he knows it. The super shotgun is immensely powerful at the moment, and you know you can't be in close range with it. I'll give him a chance, especially when he's got this much armor and he's good to go. cnz, just over 2 minutes on the clock to make this comeback happen. On most maps, we'd be talking about how it might even be GG's, but on a map as small as Awoken, definitely you can daisy chain them. But your frags have to be clean, uncontested. You need to have the stack to try and chase as someone respawns.
I also just think that cnz's game is still far too predictable. Pretty much every single time he goes and picks up heavy, he leaves the same way, or attempts to leave. Yeah, this is good. But every single time cnz takes heavy, he runs this way towards the teleporter, and Rapha has downloaded him. He has read him. Even I have read that he keeps on doing this time and time again. He never just goes up the bounce pad and leaves through rail or tries to rocket jump out. So Rapha continuously waiting, holding down that center area of the map, the T, and then just dishing out when cnz takes the exact same escape route time and time again. Now cnz though, a minute left for 4 frags. It is doable. Awoken, pretty small map, but those missed shots, he cannot afford those this late into the game, and Rapha is just going to delay it a little bit. Pushes his opponent back with a few rockets, even if they don't do any damage. It's still just delaying cnz's charge, and he's even managing to secure a mega. And again, the shots catch up. cnz, the damage output isn't there.
And it somewhat is for Rapha as he keeps the stack advantage. That was the full stop on the end of this one, because Now Awoken's going to come to a close, and rapha will be winning another map. 10-4 at this rate, maybe even get some more bonus frags, but while we wait for this map to conclude, I mean, let's talk about cnz's path and how he got here and how he was able to fight back to reach this late stage of the tournament. In almost every map that he was playing in, he kept things close, competitive. He had the clutch factor to win at the last second. It was matches against Cypher, matches against Base, all coming down to the same general kind of way. But against rapha just isn't allowing this. He's in charge every step of the way. At no point has cnz had a solid level of a lead, of control. He's never able to make his presence known on these important items. rapha just soaks them all up, and we're not able to see cnz thrive in the environment that has worked so well for him this weekend. And another win goes to the American player.
I think a huge part of that loss was just the aim. rapha, of course, is so oppressive on these maps just by the way that he plays. He doesn't give you all that many angles to work with, but there were definitely a lot of shots that cnz actually could have taken. 35% railgun accuracy, definitely a considerably lower amount of items picked up, but that's just because rapha just ran those for minutes on end. But cnz, when he does get into a good position and he finally has an opportunity to make something happen, he's just not landing the shots. Like in the end, yes, it was dire to begin with, but he had like 4 relatively straightforward shots on rapha, missed every single last one of them, and then rapha was just like, okay, don't mind if I take away the mega and now just set up, and when you actually push in, I'm gonna use my orb in a combo and just finish it off straight away. So the aim really not working out for cnz right now.
I think there might have been a bit of a no pun intended thing there, Flea, talking about the dire situation, because the orb was such a thorn in his side on that map. And it kind of leads us onto the champion picks. Let's look at what's just happened. Blood Covenant with the Athena, Awoken with the Ranger. One thing both of these champions have had in common, in contrast to cnz's style, is that they are so bullyish, they are assertive, they are mobile, they're able to constantly put on this pressure on the 2 maps that they've been played in to stop cnz from being able to be comfortable. rapha has been, I think, strong-arming his way around this map, and cnz can't really collect himself. And I mean, that's why I think everyone else has talked about how rapha might have really won the champion picks in this phase, because his picks kind of go directly against cnz's picks, don't they?
Yeah, I mean, just look at this matchup as well, right? rapha is playing Strock, cnz is playing Anarchy. Both players have got that tremendous movement, they've got a lot of speed, crouch sliding versus the air control, but then rapha has that added bonus of the peeker, especially on Corrupted Keep, a map where you don't have a railgun, you don't have that good tool of taking down that threat when it's coming flying at your face, so that just gives him already an edge up. He's rivaling cnz's movement, but he's got that extra bonus ability to help him out in many of these situations, no doubt. So as cnz definitely at a disadvantage before we're even jumping into this map, this is the make it or break it for him, Ketchup.
No doubt about it. And the situation is quite a difficult one, is the word we'll use, because he has to win Corrupted, Molten, and Ruins back-to-back against a player that has decisively 2-0'd him so far. Never say never, but this is going to be pretty damn hard. Let's go, final map potentially.
I mean, we've seen that cnz is disciplined not just in the game but also outside of it, right? The reverse sweep on day 1 just to begin with, that shows that this man has got the resilience, he's got the endurance to roll with the punches and keep his composure still. Starting off on rapha's point of view, managing to collect himself the LG, cnz made a bit of an effort to deny it, but look at how low his stack is already. That is, of course, part of playing a light champion. Ooh. He shouldn't have gone there. Again, so predictable. I held my breath the moment I saw him go for those 2 health bubbles. rapha reading the spawn perfectly. Rockets immediately strong.
cnz hugging the wall, just thinking, please don't see me, dude. Just give me 1, please. But as we go into this next stage, rapha, cnz was able to spawn, get mega, and actually no, maybe not. We'll see what he does here. He has the LG, that's what I was really going to mention. We'll see if it's actually going to help him much, seeing as the armor is absolutely in rapha's favor. And this is what worries me. rapha is likely to spend this entire map denying as much of these light armors as possible, so he's going to have more stack than cnz. And then cnz has, I mean, besides the odd ejection, not really an opportunity to fight back. Like, if they start LGing each other and rapha keeps up this great aim, I just don't see how cnz is going to be able to win these 1v1s.
Yeah. I love the disciplined play from Rapha right there. Just giving up Mega like that, a lot of players would just fight to keep that item rotation, but Rapha just instantly recognizes, I'm in the lead. I have such a good situation right here. I'm at 100 health right now. What I want more than the health is the armor, because I only have 60 points of armor to work with. So instead of taking a fight that could go south for him, he just leaves up the item, peppers a bit of extra damage, and takes away the heavy instead. Extremely calculated, disciplined response right there. And that is something that both of these two players have in common. But Rapha, of course, he is the professor. He has perfected this playstyle. He was molded by it long before cnz even came onto the scene.
This has been one hell of a breakout performance for cnz so far. I know when discussing cnz in the future, this tournament will always be mentioned as the time he finally stepped up and showed everyone that he is here to stay. But against Rapha, this was always going to be a difficult task for him. I know there are some people that definitely believe in cnz. I've got to admit, I did too. Don't want to speak too much in past tense because this matchup still is taking place and there's always a chance he can make this comeback. It's just Rapha, the final boss. Many people's favorite to win this tournament, especially with the current bracket. But as we have only a couple of minutes really happening on this map so far, there's time. And on Corrupted Keep, the snowball effect can be real.
Absolutely, looks like we're getting another split on the items. Things have slowed down a bit after that first engagement. cnz actually in a good position, but that jump straight across Rapha, once again reading him perfectly, knocking him straight back down with a lightning gun, completely shutting down his opponent's opportunity of making something happen. And that hoverboard catch-up, we talked about it yesterday, it is loud, it makes a lot of noise, and Rapha is going to sit back, hold back, listen out, but he is caught in a bad situation. cnz had the high ground, and we all know what that means. The rockets aren't as effective when your opponent is towering above you, and cnz actually getting himself on the board with the first frag. Not looking too shabby right now.
Question is, what can he do with this? Looks like his use of the LG has been great, keeping Rapha away from it, showing a lot of respect as he pushes in though, because this is Anarchy. One stray rocket that does good damage can be the absolute make or break of a fight. Rapha, he's been able to push in, and there's 7 seconds until this mega spawns. The thing is, he has got an injection, and he pops it in between. This is a nice time to use it, because the mega's still there, and it's still good to take. Now, he is trying to make that play. Does Rapha jump down and take the armor? He will do, but he's forced to back out. And because he used the injection, he can afford to get the heavy instead. I like that reward.
Yeah, of course. Playing Anarchy means that you've already got a bit of a mega in your pocket. You've got an overcharged, overstacked health injection ready to go at a moment's notice. So if you have to decide, and if you're split between the two items, favoring the heavy, the armor is always going to work out in your favor. Now cnz caught in a bad spot though, between a rock and a hard place, or a rocket and a hard place rather, as Rapha. Hey, the puns coming through already. cnz going for a peek, wanting to do a bit of extra damage. Can't quite catch sight of Rapha just yet though.
But this is the side of cnz that has allowed him to play so well this weekend, always having presence. Now, that is an unfortunate rocket, because it's both information and, damage, the important thing. But he's making Rapha work for every corner that he takes. Nothing is free. Even that light armor, cnz, he did take a lot of damage in return, of course, but he's able to punish Rapha in some capacity. Rapha's not just controlling the entire map and taking what he wants. Might change a bit now, because that frag happened at possibly the worst time. cnz is going to take the mega, but with his severe lack of armor, it's going to be swiftly deleted. And as he comes around this corner, looks like there's no escape. He has the injection, so it's going to keep him alive, but armor, where is it?
There just isn't any. Rapha has done an excellent job at denying most of it.
Oh.
Just dancing around the map. Probably would have done better holding his position somewhere. Rapha reading the spawn again. cnz, what are you going to do? He
Don't do it.
manages to take the heavy,
Don't do
but
it.
still, one shotgun blast at close range will clean him up. Rapha, second.
Oh, again!
Just started, yeah. And this is the snowball effect, just not the way cnz was hoping to see it happen. But Rapha just reading the spawns time and time again, positioning himself after getting these frags just to force out a favorable respawn by his opponent. And it's paying off nicely.
Oh, watch out! The teleporter and the peeker. You often do not see that get used.
No.
Nice little bit of extra utility, but this is the problem. The armor. There is none. Rapha has been soaking up every ounce of it, and cnz is going to get melted again. Super shotgun. He gets one light, but that's not going to be anywhere near enough to save his skin. And where's the escape? Trying to be silent. A little bit of a fake out. No. He's listening out. He can hear it. Boom! There's another one. Right as the mega spawns. And he's not going to be able to get the heavy, surely. Where's his spawn? Now he has to try and steal this heavy, surely.
Looks like he's just gonna go for rockets, and maybe LG instead wants to favor weaponry over trying to steal away any of the items. Caught against the wall, rapha's LG looking to be on fire once again. Rockets flying around his face. cnz, there should be no escape, and indeed there won't be. Rapha extending his lead ever more. We have seen a bit of a lack of peeker in this map, haven't we, Ketchup? We've seen it only once or twice really being used. Rapha just relying on the crouch slide and the positioning and the aim more so than that active ability today.
Yeah, the mobility of Anarchy does also mean that the likelihood of just using a Pico right as Anarchy's come speeding around this corner means there's somewhat of a risk. Using it as he jumps down, that was a bit of a safer situation, and just going bad to worse for cnz at this point. Not able to really take anything. The only armor he's been able to really grab is that one light, and it's mostly been because he spawns down there. He's not... Everything else has just been non-existent now. The Mega does go to him, but the rockets are insane! His movement once more being tagged by rapha. He's had a perfect call-out on cnz's escape plans every time. The cheeky little window almost hitting the splash, and cnz likely to drop for another time still. These vials dropped by Strog, that passive, making... I mean, just insult to injury at this point. Extra stack. I mean, come on, you're already overstacked.
Rapha
just... shotgun. Ah!
Yeah, Shoddy will clean it up again, and Rapha just sticking to the basics for these past few minutes. He's just controlling the top center area of the map, knowing that cnz, no matter which side of the map he spawns on, has to come around there sooner rather than later. And if Rapha can continue just keeping his stack high, he knows that heavy is lost this time around, knows that he has to give that up to his opponent. But the small armors will help him out, and the time just isn't there anymore for cnz. We love it when there's still time, Ketchup, but this time, there's no time.
I agree with that statement, because we're now going into the final stage. Definitely a victory lap for rapha, denying even a single frag at this stage. cnz was able to get one on the board at an early stage, but in classic rapha fashion, once he's set up shop, it's been almost impossible. Air assault! Another frag, and this victory lap for rapha, moving him into the next stage of the tournament in dominant fashion. He's going to go down one last time, but at this stage, it is, by all accounts, too little too late. cnz's just been bullied around every single map, and his style of play has just not been able to put a mere dent in rapha's playstyle.
Yep, the Professor, one of the absolute greatest of all time, once again proving that he is up for the task. Rapha has yet to drop a single map and is going to continue on that trend, as he will secure himself a spot in the next round on final Sunday. Still though, not in the clear just yet, has to win a few more before he can take home the belt, and there is a lot of opposition on the way still. But it will not be cnz anytime soon, as this is a convincing victory for the American. Well played, congratulations to Liquid.
There's not really much else we can say at the end of that one apart from congratulations, and we'll be seeing him later on. Now, it's not going to be the end of cnz's journey. We will be seeing him a little bit later. However, we are going to go for a quick break while we get ready to break things down and move on to the next matchup. So, see you in a few minutes.